Hey everybody, Mike here. This is video 2 in my new series looking at 3D mapping tools and virtual tabletops. This is a screenshot from Wildshape. We're going to be talking about a couple different things. We're going to be talking about pricing, and we're going to be talking about support. I'm also going to introduce a new virtual tabletop that I was introduced to just this week. So let's get started. We'll start with the one I use the most. This is Wildshape. This is a picture of a village that someone else built in Wildshape. I took this as one of the screenshots off of Steam Workshop. So for players to use Wildshape and to build kind of demo maps with less assets, it's free. If you want to host a game, have other people join, you have to do the downloaded the DLC, download content, and on Wildshape that's $39.99 right now as of January of 2022. Everyone else just has to have the demo version, which sounds like a pretty good deal to me. $40 for as long as the game exists to host games is reasonable. I believe we're going to look at a dungeon now. So this is Red Brand Hideout. Someone else made this map. I added some webbing. My product under Tresendar starts in Red Brand Hideout. Goes underneath there in case anybody's interested in adding to their Phandalin-based adventures. There is a way to get underneath the manor now. You can find that in the link below. What I want to talk about next with Wildshape is support. So there's one developer. His Discord channel is very active. If someone asks a question, either he or myself or someone else answers that question pretty quickly most of the time. And I will say that as you make suggestions, he does a really good job of prioritizing them and putting them into a list for development. I will say, in my opinion, he could do more small releases more often instead of waiting a month or 6 weeks or 8 weeks to do a really big giant release. I know he has more props he could put out there, more objects, little changes he could make every couple of weeks. He tends to make big changes. But in terms of support, there's always someone there to answer your questions and help you. Really a big fan of the community. This is Tailspire. So this is, it looks like Phandalin that someone made in Tailspire. I also thought I had a Phandalin shot for Wildshape, but I'll have to find that and maybe talk about that when I talk about Wildshape specifically. So this is Tailspire, this is Phandalin. You can see you can build a pretty large map. The thing about this is every one of these buildings you can go into and interact with stuff inside the building. It is a virtual tabletop, as you know. Everyone has to have a license. So if you're hosting a game, any players that you want to join your game also have to have a license. As of now, that license costs $24.99 regular price. This is a close-up view of the well in Phandalin that this person also made in Tailspire. The details are great. Like I said, it's not as realistic looking maybe as these buildings, so it's really a question of aesthetics and usefulness. This is also, as you know, a server-based game, so if they have an outage, you have an outage. This is Red Brand Hideout that somebody built in Tailspire. They called it something else for some reason. I think they were afraid of copyright. You don't need to be if you're doing stuff for your own personal use. This gives you an idea of what a dungeon can look like. I will say, I think it's awesome for making dungeons. It looks really cool. As I've said, there's not a great way to export it and use it in other virtual tabletops. The best way to use it is inside of its own tool. So that's, community support. Wow. As you can imagine, for a Kickstarter as big as it was, they have a development team. I think they have a social media manager. If you ask a question or have a comment, you're gonna get help on Discord. I will say it's a big community. A lot of posts happen. Your stuff can get lost. Sometimes I don't feel like I can answer right away. Also, I feel like because it's such an active, big community and there are some definite power users, sometimes I feel like other people get squished or pushed off to the side a little bit. But that could just be my personal perception. Seems like really good support, seems like a really good community. The other thing about this community is they're amazingly active at sharing their slabs, and I can't remember what the other word is, basically their maps and their map pieces. And because it's server based, you copy and paste a URL or code or something in, and boom, you could load this in no time. Wildshape is currently hooked up to Steam Workshop, so people do put stuff on Steam Workshop. If you want something from Wildshape that somebody else has built, you either got to ask them directly or get it on Workshop. On Tailspire, you can, just import it in pretty easily. So this is the new one. This is called the RPG Engine. This is the map that they kind of use as their tutorial. I will say some pretty cool things look like they're in here. You can see this is much like Game Master Engine, cartoony looking, Lego looking, whatever, Dwarven Forge looking, whatever you want to call it, not aiming for realism. But I will say there's some stuff in here that I think I'm going to really like. The RPG Engine pricing model is a combination of, if everybody owns the tool, which I think is currently $19.99, I can't remember the price, I'll put it down in the links below, then great, everybody can play. In the future, the developer, and it's one developer right now, this is the newest tool of them all by far, the developer is planning a subscription service where you pay a monthly fee and then you can host people that just have the demo. So yeah, that's a picture of the RPG Engine. Here's another picture from the RPG Engine. One of the things is when you actually open this tool, because of the wind, the tarps are moving a little bit. The smoke is blowing in the wind. That part is really cool. The support, it's one developer. Like many of these tools, it's one developer. But if anyone asks a question on Discord, either he or someone else is usually available to answer. It is a new community. Workshop isn't built yet, but I think it's coming. I saw something in Discord that it's coming very soon. So there's not a lot of maps to share, which is why we're looking at another town instead of a dungeon. He does have a cave system map. So this is a cave system map. Here's an example of a dungeon. It looks like what he did was use his tool to cut out the passages in the caves. Pretty impressed with the support. The pricing model seems reasonable. I know everyone's going to say, well, Tailspire's $40 a person, but that's forever, right? So if you had 5 people, if you played, I don't know, every other week within less than 2 years, so within a year and a half, you'd be at $1 a session. That's nothing. So I don't think any of these are unreasonably priced. Next up is Realm Engine. Here's a picture of a town. I will say this is the least active Discord by far. I feel like I can ask a question or someone else can ask a question and it doesn't get answered, or it takes a very long time to get answered. We've been promised a new version for a while, which I know is being worked on because I can see comments in the alpha threads, but it seemed like it was going to be released a month or two ago and it still hasn't been. I do like a lot of things that this can do. I think it's got I think it looks pretty realistic, and the way that you build the houses, the wall tool is great. But the support on Discord, not stellar, I would say. Pricing for Realm Engine, it's free for everybody. I don't think there's multiplayer yet. That's coming in the newer version, if I understand correctly. And I know that he's planning to charge, again, I think one developer, he's planning to charge for multiplayer in the future. And here's a picture of a dungeon from Realm Engine. I think it looks great. Okay, so here's Game Master Engine. Here's a picture of a town. I mean, my mind is blown at what like if I loaded this map, my ability to walk through this map and everything, my mind is blown at how much detail is here. It really is cool. It looks almost more, it looks a lot more realistic in this picture than maybe some of the other pictures make it look like. So that's great. Support on Discord is really good. If you ask a question, there's 2 developers. If you ask a question, one of them is going to answer it, or someone else is going to answer it. It's a little bit less active Discord than some of the others, but there is activity. Steam Workshop is there. Not a lot of maps loaded yet. I wish more people loaded more maps. Maybe not a lot of people have built them. In terms of pricing for Game Master Engine, whoops. Apparently I only put one Game Master Engine picture in. Sorry about that, guys. For players, it's free. And for the Dungeon Master, it's $20. And I believe that $20 it allows you to host as many people as you want on the free version. I'll ask just to make sure if there's any corrections to any of the pricing. I'll make sure to put it down below, and I'll put something in the video at the end or at the beginning to make sure people go down below, but I'm pretty sure that's the current pricing. Okay, so this is Flowscape. As you may recall, this is a mapping tool only. It is not a virtual tabletop, so it's a one-time price of $14.99. We have been promised an update for a very, very long time. Still not here. We've been promised a version 2 for a good amount of time. Still not here. One developer. I understand that there's complexities with one developer stuff, and again, I'm not judging. I'm just letting y'all know there's only one developer. Haven't had an update for a very long time. It's only a mapping tool, not a virtual tabletop. And I don't participate on the Discord for 2 reasons. One, I don't love the tool, as you may recall from the first video. And 2, you have to give your phone number to verify who you are, and I am not going to give my phone number to verify who I am on a Discord channel. I've seen plenty of other people say online that they're not going to do that either. So kind of disappointed. And when I searched Discord, this is the best dungeon picture I could see. It's pretty stellar, actually, on Steam Workshop. There's a ton of maps out there for you to download on Steam Workshop. Not a lot of stuff that says dungeon or anything like that. A lot of stuff that says village. And again, it's only a mapping tool. The price is very reasonable for a mapping tool. I guess it could also be an art tool, a perspective tool. Like this is perspective. You would not use this as a map, but this would be a great perspective to give your players if you built this. But again, it's hard for me to recommend this tool right now until we get an update with the Dungeon Builder, and also version 2. You won't be able to use any of your maps you built in version 1. So if you are thinking about this, and money is any kind, I mean, $15 is nothing in the grand scheme of role-playing costs. But if money is an issue, I would definitely wait for version 2 to come out so that you don't start building maps and then can't use them. So that leaves our last tool, which is also a mapping only tool. This is Dungeon Alchemist. You can't get it right now because it's in beta. It will be released in March of 2022. I think that the likely price is going to be $36, and they are going to have downloadable content with more props and more tools and stuff. Don't know what that looks like yet. It's in development right now. Here's an example of a dungeon that somebody built. You can really do a lot with this tool. I think that's the only picture I have on here. There are not currently roofs to put on top of buildings, so there isn't really a good village map that people have out there, at least not a screen share that I saw. I and other people on Discord have asked for roofs. I think they're coming. It sounds like they're coming based on answers. Other people are like, well, just put roofs on in your virtual tabletop. Well, you know what? I want the mapping tool to allow me to take cool pictures to share with my players of what the village looks like with or without the roofs. So support, it's a massive community on Discord. Again, it's so big, so many people post so often. Sometimes your questions can get a little bit lost. They definitely have a social media manager working in Dungeon Alchemist, So I feel like most of the time my questions get answered by that person if they're not answered by somebody else. But you're never not going to be able to get support there. People are sharing maps in the Discord. At some point, I assume it'll, when they actually release the Steam Workshop, will be part of that. I'm not really sure. So all in all, pricing on all of these is pretty reasonable. The 2 mapping tools are one-time costs. There are downloadable content items coming for Dungeon Alchemist after it's released sometime in March. So I guess it's not one time, but really it's pretty much one time. Nice dungeon here. Nice dungeon here from Flowscape. Look at how realistic Flowscape looks. I mean, despite all my issues with it, you can make beautiful art with Flowscape. Game Master Engine. This town is great. Whoever built this did an amazing job. Here we have a dungeon and a town in Realm Engine. Cave system, which I'm not in love with. It's a new tool. Not really sure exactly how I'm gonna feel about it. I haven't really used it yet other than going through the tutorial, so I can't really give a strong opinion one way or the other. Than I am kind of excited about some of the things that it can do. I know in the tutorial, for example, here I am pointing. You can't see me pointing. You can have somebody fire a gun or cast magic and you see something fly out of one of the minis toward the other mini. That's pretty cool. Tailspire, a dungeon. I mean, it just looks like a dungeon to me. Tailspire, a village. Phandalin. Red Brand hideout or a dungeon inside of Wild Shape. And here's a town in Wild Shape. All the tools do great stuff. Most of the tools have really good support online. Some of the communities are really big and you can feel lost, and some of the communities are a little small and you can feel like you're not getting an answer right away. So that's a wrap on video 2. As usual, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. I'd appreciate you sharing this video, letting other people know about these comparisons. And if you really want to support me, you can look at the links down below and see my products on Dungeon Masters Guild. That's video 2. Video 3 is going to be a deep dive into one of these tools. If you have a preference, let me know in the comments. Have a great day, everybody.